Holy heck. A bunch of PlayStation 5 games that are coming out over the course of the next 2 years have just leaked onto the internet. A top secret document from inside of Sony has seemingly just been copy and pasted and published by multiple websites now, and I want to take a look at it because this is insane. This includes developers, third-party stuff, first-party stuff, and honestly some very big surprises. But I want to talk about all the different parts of it and sort of the disappointment that some people seem to have about it. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm literally filming this 30 seconds after getting back from the gym, but I wanted to yell about it because it is incredibly interesting. So this is a tweet that links to a thread over on Reset Era that directly shows the document. I've already looked at it before filming this video, and I showed it to some of my sources, some insiders I know that happen to know a bunch of stuff that seems to be going on inside of Sony, and they said two things. One, the document is completely real, and two, I probably shouldn't show it in a video because Sony will definitely delete it. But what I want to do is read everything from it because it's essentially just like an Excel spreadsheet. It just shows like the head engineers, the main people behind it, and the names of the games, and probably when they're coming out. So let's begin. So the weirdest part of this top secret document, other than it being posted online, the other strange aspect of it is it just kind of lists the fact that there is a lot of weird codename stuff going on, it seems like. So on the list, like 30% of it is all the Horizon Zero Dawn stuff we've been talking about. Now, I made a post yesterday, or I made a video yesterday talking about the Horizon Zero Dawn remake. I'm looking at the actual official top secret document now. Now, what's on here is Horizon 2, Horizon 2 DLC, which is funny because that actually leaked this weekend. Lance Reddick, the main actor Cylon in the game Horizon Zero Dawn 2, he basically tweeted out a picture of him in a mocap face mask talking about the fact that they're currently working on the Horizon Horizon Forbidden West DLC. That's on the list. Now, what's interesting is that it also shows the fact that they're working on Horizon Forbidden West for PC. Not a big surprise. Inside this document, though, the official name of it is Horizon PS5 Remastered. So it's interesting that this is seemingly a complete rebuilding of the game, but they themselves, even Sony, is calling it a remaster and not a remake. Now, this is my own speculation, but if they're calling it a remaster, I do hope that means it's not going to cost $70. I guess if maybe the sales numbers were so crazy high for The Last of Us remake, if they realize they can sell a decent game for $70 again and again and again, they're probably going to try and get away with it with Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, next up is two separate entries, which are interesting because each of the games on the spreadsheet are actually listed as genre and then console it's coming to. So here it has two entries that are labeled as Horizon Online, which is seemingly a multiplayer Horizon game. Both of them are listed for PS5 and PC, and it's labeled Games as a Service. So we do know the fact that Sony has been trying to really spin up the gears on a bunch of Games as a Service projects. A lot of us have been hoping that some of this would be something like SOCOM or Killzone or, I don't know, like Mercenaries. Like, there is a lot of very good properties that I feel like could be a good online shooter or some like living games as a service project. In general, I'm not really a fan just of the idea of all these games as a service projects, but there's certainly particular properties that Sony owns which would be better than others. You know, like if you're doing a new Sly Cooper, I wouldn't want that to be games as a service, but if you're doing some random spin-off of an RPG or something, you know, I could understand it's the idea of it at least. Now, next up is a very interesting one. Horizon VR is listed here. Then there are these weird code name games which are labeled as survival horror. There's separate entries here. There's called Firesprite. Obviously, that's the new studio they bought to make VR games. They're making a game that's called Heartbreak, or it's codename Heartbreak. It doesn't say this game is VR. It says that Firesprite is making a non-VR game called Heartbreak, but the genre is labeled as survival horror. This says it's coming to PS5 and PC. Now, the other weird thing they have here is something called Ballistic Moon Bates. Like ballistic as in guns, moon, and then Bates, like Bates Motel. Again, this is coming to PS5 and PC. It's also labeled as survival horror, and we have no idea. Now, I can't tell you the other stuff about it because it has the person working on its exact name, and I probably shouldn't read that out, but wow. I'm personally just super interested to see what kind of survival horror first-party stuff that Sony is going to be working on. Next up, we have Death Stranding 2, but what's kind of peculiar is that inside of this document, instead of calling it Death Stranding 2, it says the new Kojima production, Codename Ocean. Like, does that mean that, like, Death Stranding 2 is probably going to be more aquatic since their first game was just walking around on land? Or are we going to be patrolling the seas? Very, very strange. Now, we have a bunch of games that apparently are coming to PC. Returnal is labeled here as coming with Unreal Engine to PC. Sackboy's Big Adventure also says it's coming to PC. Next up, though, is some mysterious thing that showed up. This is probably the codename that I've seen people behind the scenes the most confused about. It's something that's just labeled as Carbon. We don't know what Carbon means. It just says Carbon, being produced by the studio Sumo, which is, again, one of the more recent purchases, and it says it's open world. It says they don't even have the engine decided yet, but it is open world, and it is going to be coming to PlayStation 5. Now, some of these other codenames that are very, very strange is something that's just called Redstar by Lucid Studios, and that says it's vehicular combat. There has been a bunch of rumors that they're making a new Twisted Metal to try and go alongside the new Twisted Metal TV show. I wonder if Redstar is actually the next big thing. Like, I wonder if that's actually going to be the next Twisted Metal. I mean, even if it is a tinier project, like even if it doesn't have like the crazy scope and big scale, I'd be curious to try that out. It does specifically say that it's coming to PlayStation 5. It's not labeled as Games as a Service, so it does sound like it's going to be a straightforward, typical price tag. Now, at the bottom of the list is two games again, one we've heard about and one that was mentioned higher up on the list. They talk here about Ronin by Koei Tecmo. It does say that they're working on it. It is coming to the PlayStation 5, but it mentioned here that even though it's open world, it doesn't have an engine yet, or the engine isn't officially being talked about inside of Sony documents, which is a bit interesting to me. And again, down here at the bottom, once again, is this studio called London and that mysterious project called Camden. So the other game is Carbon. Sumo is working on Project Carbon. London is working on Project Camden. And that apparently is going to be Games as a Service. These code names are purposely vague. A lot of these companies and stuff, they like to try and find a way to make it where even if information does get out, like this document did, it makes it where you can't just instantly know their next grand secret. And in this case, I guess this vagueness was certainly effective. Even with the names we do have, I think this is kind of spelling out a pretty interesting rest of next year, maybe the year after. It does sound like we're probably going to get maybe 3 or 4 big exclusives next year. Like, this is definitely an incomplete list. I've seen some people already being like, oh my god, Sony has kicked this generation. LMAO. Oh my god, this is worse than I thought. This list is far from complete. It only has new games from first, third-party games. What about the other 20? So it seems like a lot of people are trying to figure out what this is. A lot of people are making making jokes about the fact that half the list is just Horizon, because Horizon is like the original game being remade. Obviously, Forbidden West DLC. There's another team apparently working on it to come to PC. It's weird. Games as a Service is now a genre. Pain. Yeah, it's very, very, very strange. It is funny that it was posted originally on 4chan. A lot of people talking about that Project Camden just because it's very, very weird. Because Camden could be there's been a lot of talks about the new Silent Hill game is placed in London. Does Project Camden mean Silent Hill? It's very difficult to know. Horizon, though, being labeled as a remaster, I do hope, more than anything else, that does mean it's hopefully going to not cost a full $70. But I guess it just means that next year is going to be very, very busy for Sony employees and Sony fans. But what do you think about all this? Are you excited for the future of PlayStation, or does this seem like a big fat zero? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and please, if you could, give this video a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. Oh man, I am so freaking sweaty. I do apologize, but this is just like primo cool leaks. Real, actual Sony documents that just say the future. I gotta talk about that. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.